Well, good evening, YouTube. I have had a little bit of free time to mess around with some of my antique light fixtures, and something that I've really been eager to share with the lighting community is this NA-9 M-2 low pressure sodium fixture assembly here. This is just a spur of the moment video. I'm really sorry, but editing these videos and actually putting together quality content takes a lot of time. So I figured at least get some kind of basic video out there demonstrating NA-9 and the ballasting auxiliary equipment versus just no video at all, because I don't want to spend 6 hours editing a video. So the components that you see here are the multiple ballasting components out of a General Electric M-2 NA-9 low pressure sodium fixture. A brief history of the M-2 fixtures is they were devised by General Electric in the very late 1930s and used up until the mid-60s, when General Electric stopped selling the NA-9 lamp here. And they're a very weird looking fixture. I'm gonna do a complete video. I've got a GE M2 fixture. It's just in horrible condition, and the ballast here I've been kind of messing around with and measuring the parameters and checking it to make sure that it's not going to fry one of these priceless lamps. That there's only a handful of these NA-9 lamps in the entire hobby. So what I'd like to do is briefly go over the components on the auxiliary ballasting assembly here, and kind of briefly explain the theory of operation, and then we'll take a look at NA-9 and the doer jacket assembly. And lastly, after if you're still around after hearing me run my mouth, I'll put some voltage on this thing and show you what this absolutely stunning NA-9 low pressure sodium lamp looks like when it's fired up. It's absolutely gorgeous. So like I said, this is the ballasting assembly out of a General Electric M2 fixture. It's the multiple one, which I said earlier, and what that means is it's not series. So to normal people, that just means the damn thing runs on 120 volts. If we look at the ballast assembly here, there's multiple different taps for your ballast voltage to correctly get the current and voltage on the NA-9 lamp. It has a fuse on it rated for just 10 amps to protect the auxiliary equipment. And then we have an RF coil choke here to kind of minimize some of that radio frequency interference. And what's really interesting is this fixture being from the 40s, it's made of wood. Really interesting manufacturing technique. And then behind that, all these pieces of circuitry are mounted on a bakelite board. So this big honker right here is a very interesting component. And this particular thing is, if I can take it out, it is replaceable, is a solenoid driven timer. So why you would have this on the M2 auxiliary hardware for NA-9 is it's basically a starter. It preheats the filaments on NA-9, and then once a certain amount of time has gone by, it closes itself, strikes an arc, hopefully, if the bulb's working, and your lamp is ignited. Now, this component would wear out, which is why it is replaceable and removable on the ballasting assembly for the M2 fixture. So you can see just that traditional 1940s design right there. This whole thing is really heavy, and it's made of bakelite, and is just a vital component for the fixture to make it work. So we're gonna plug our little time delay relay back in its sockets there, plug it in, and then go over here to the capacitor. So the capacitor, it's got two capacitors on it, and as you can see, this thing is leaking. It's a Pyranol capacitor, and whatever in the past amount of time that I've had this thing, it started leaking, but it still tests good. and I'm going to have to get a replacement capacitor. I've tested the shit out of this thing, and it reads about roughly 7.7 microfarads, and the fixture's only putting like no more than 100 volts on this capacitor, but it looks like they really used a capacitor that's a significantly higher voltage rating just to make it last longer. But this capacitor's not in the best shape. It still tests decent. And to the best of my knowledge, it's probably maybe 8 microfarads, something in that vicinity, but it actually tests to 7.7 microfarads. If I could get a hold of another one of these capacitors and measure it to see what the actual original values were, which I doubt will ever happen in my lifetime, it'd be great. But it is what it is. So the ballast on this thing has multiple different taps, and it's not in the best condition. I've megged it out. All the coils are testing fine, but like I said, these fixtures, for as many as the damn things were actually in use, they're extremely rare. Michael Spadafora has, I want to say, 2 of these fixtures. Another guy named John Bowditch has, I think, 1. They worked out a little trade a couple years ago. And other than that, the Golden Gate Bridge Museum in San Francisco has a replica. But other than that, those are the only ones in the entire hobby. And Mike's very secretive about any of his fixtures, so I assume they work. I think he has the multiple versions as well. I'm not sure, but that's outside of the scope of this video. So let's try to flip this ballasting assembly over so I can show you the other side of it. It's really, really heavy. The ballast is massive on this thing. So we can see the back side of the circuit board. We've got what I believe to be asbestos insulation. Before any dumbass person says anything about asbestos, I know the risks of it. It's a great material. It is perfectly safe if treated with respect, and I don't want to hear any dumbass remarks about that there being asbestos in here. The stuff's fine as long as it's treated with respect. There are no issues with it, and it is an absolutely fabulous electrical insulating material when treated with proper care and respect. So it has another capacitor on here. I do not know the values on this little guy right here. It's pretty small, but it's rated for a really high voltage to make it last a little bit longer. Oh gosh, I want to say it's 0.5 microfarads if I'm not mistaken, but don't quote me on that because I know somebody's going to have one of these fixtures laying around and they're going to need these cap values because capacitors are fried. Here's the bottom side of the ballast. I did have to get some Gliptol to make some repairs on the windings. The original varnish was flaking off at that particular connector, and I was kind of scared of a short. So I took some mineral spirits to clean all of the shit off of the windings. And once the mineral spirits were dried, I put a fresh coat of Gliptol on there to properly seal up those windings so that there's no short on this very complicated and old beast of a ballast. So that right there, covers the auxiliary equipment for the M2 fixtures. So I'm gonna try to sit this back down without destroying anything. And then we'll take a look at the NA-9 lamp. So there we go. There's my little piece of tape to prop the thing up. It's very clumsy. How it mounts in the fixture is really strange. So the NA-9 lamp is a work of art. The doer jacket for this thing is also a work of art. And it's just an incredibly beautiful and complicated thing. I'm not really a big fan of low pressure sodium, but I've always had a deep appreciation for this very bizarre and strange fixture. And my love for antique lighting is not immune to low pressure sodium. So Rhea, if you're out there, I really hope you're not. You're a terrible, disgusting, horrible person. I've hated you since I've ever met you. If you ever see this video, I really don't like you. So that's why I don't like low pressure sodium. That stupid admin from Light Gallery, Rhea, who finally got her dumbass banned. What a despicable person, just destroyed the hobby. So anyway, to get to the NA-9 lamp out of the doer jacket, you have to rotate this whole assembly counterclockwise, and these flanges right here come out of these fastening devices, and then you take the whole lamp and pull it out, which I'm going to try to do here so you can see that. Rotating it counterclockwise. All right, the lamp is free. We see the 4-prong bakelite socket right there. And then, oh my God, it's an asbestos washer. Keep your pants on. Oh my gosh, we're all going to burst into flames. There's asbestos there. But I'm going to treat that with respect. I'm not going to touch it and molest it to keep the asbestos fibers from flying around and getting in my lungs and causing anybody to have a heart attack on YouTube. So here is the actual NA-9 lamp right here. You can see the cathodes and anodes in there. Up inside of there is the filament, which are preheated. This has got more in common with a fluorescent lamp than an actual true low pressure sodium lamp of modern days. And then there is kind of a blurry coating in there. And that blurry coating, I can't for the life of me remember what it is, but it is an applied coating to make the glass more resistant to the attacks of sodium. It's, I can't remember for the life of me what it is, but it's an applied coating, and it gives it that blurry sheen on the inside of the lamp, and it makes the glass resistant to sodium attacks. Sodium in liquid form is very, very corrosive and will actually impregnate the glass and darken it and also weaken it. So here's the view of the beautiful NA-9 lamp right there. That's the whole assembly. A lot of people have taken these parts off of it for, I don't want to say obvious reasons, but they take the gasket, the asbestos gasket off, and then they take the clamping device off of this thing. So you can see those big chunks of sodium metal flopping around in there. There's a ton of sodium inside NA-9 to make that wonderful lamp work. And then going back over to the doer jacket, the particular model for this thing is the 71-G doer jacket. And I want to say that refers to, there's two different types of doer jackets for M2 fixtures. One of them does not have a coating of indium oxide on the inside of the doer jacket. And another one is this one right here that has the indium oxide, that sheen right there. And why they put that indium oxide in there is to reflect heat back into the lamp. And then there's just a clear version. I've seen both of those. This one is acid etched with 71G. I'm not sure the part number on the clear glass one, but there's actually 3 components here to this doer jacket. And without taking this band off, I can't really show it to you, but I'm going to try to explain it to you. So inside of the doer jacket, there is just a plain glass jacket. You can kind of see it right there. That right there is just a glass jacket. It's just one single shell, and it just slides in there. It's all held in place at the base with this whole assembly here when it's clamped on here. And then you can also see there's see that second layer on the outside of that most inner jacket? That's the actual doer jacket. That's under vacuum to insulate NA-9 to try to keep all that heat on the lamp to liquefy that sodium, or excuse me, vaporize the sodium to enter into the arc stream and produce the most amount of light. If you strike and light up and run NA-9 without the doer jacket, it'll just stay pink for the most part because the sodium can't get hot enough to vaporize. It'll just, the neon gas inside of it will run, but it won't vaporize the sodium into the arc stream. You have to have that lamp inside of the doer jacket here. The doer jacket on this thing is an absolute work of art. It's gorgeous, really technically complex, and it's just really cool. So what I'm going to do now that we went over the auxiliary hardware in the doer jacket is I'm going to carefully slide the don't get too excited here. I'm going to slide the NA-9 lamp back into its doer jacket, put it in there, twist it to lock it into place, and kind of scoot it over here to plug the 4-prong General Electric marked plug onto the NA-9 lamp. And then I'm going to shut up and I'm going to put some voltage on this thing, and you're going to see what this absolutely gorgeous lamp looks like. So if we get it to go in there, got to kind of put some force on it. It's probably, oh, of course, it's keyed. And put it in there the right way. Why won't the damn thing go on there? Of course, this went on fine when I wasn't making a video. There we go. It went on there without too much fuss. I only had one hand, so you can see what that looks like. It just really cool. I wish more of these things were out there, but in the mid-60s, when GE stopped manufacturing the NA-9, all these cumbersome lamps, they all, you know, they went the way of the dodo. They got destroyed. So before I put voltage on this, I just want to say that the NA-9 lamp is a 6.6 amp lamp. It operates at about 55 volts, and that can't be right because it's only 180 watts. It's a 180 watt lamp, and it operates at 6.6 amps for the use in series fixtures. I'm not sure how many volts it runs at, but it's really low. It strikes at a really low voltage, which is why the fixture has to be preheated, as you're going to see here soon. So I'm going to turn the lights off here. Okay. And I'm going to shut up and apply power to this thing. You're going to hear it and see it strike. So 3, 2, 1. In that brief little section, you saw the lamp preheat for a few seconds, and then the electronic relay, you heard that kick over, and the arc was struck. The iPhone, it just does not capture the beauty of this lamp. I cannot imagine seeing dozens and dozens of these fixtures on the side of the highway or wherever lighting up at night. It had to have been an absolutely breathtaking sight. It's just such a rich, warm, and luxuriously beautiful red neon glow. And you can see the sodium vaporizing at the ends of the cathodes and anodes. And it's just beautiful. Wow. What a beautiful lamp. I do have one of these fixtures, but it's just in awful condition. And I'm going to try to put it together the best I can and do an actual video of the fixture running. But until then, I at least wanted to show off the auxiliary hardware and the lamp. Look how beautiful that is. More and more of that sodium's getting vaporized into the arc stream. It takes a few minutes for this thing to reach full brightness. It's absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if you can see it right there, but there's the etch on the lamp. General Electric Sodium Vapor NA-9, made in USA. Now keep in mind that 65 right there is not when this lamp was made. It's some kind of date code. I don't decipher date codes. I think I've asked, and it's like a 50s. The lamp was made sometime in the 50s. It's really beautiful. What a gorgeous lamp. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully some more collectors have some of these things sitting around. It'd be really nice because these are really exotic, cool fun and historical lamp. So until next time, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.